Hey everyone, welcome back. My name's Dustin Kreis, and today we're going to do a game discussion. We're going to talk about this game right here, Star Wars: The Force Unleashed 2, brought to us by LucasArts. You can get this on the Xbox 360, on the PlayStation 3, and I think there was a Wii version of this game. I can't remember if that's true or not, but I played the Xbox version, booted up my Xbox for the first time in months, and had to do a lot of updating. And of course, my controllers were dead and all that jazz. But I finally got it to start up, and only a few short hours later, finished the game. This is an incredibly short game, which is exactly kind of what I wanted. I just finished Metal Gear Solid 3, and on my portable system, I was playing. I started Etrian Odyssey Untold 2, which that's a first-person dungeon crawler, so it's going to be a long game. I wanted something kind of fast and a palate cleanser, if you will. And I was also I'm getting into a big Star Wars hype mode because The Force Awakens is only a few months away. And I'm constantly watching the trailers and trying to stay spoiler free because, I mean, you can just go online and find out all these rumors and stuff. So I wanted something to scratch the Star Wars itch. And lo and behold, this did it. Very short, very fun, but at the same time, kind of frustrating, at least for me, game. Because it's been a long time since I've played one of these sort of frantic action games that are kind of like a God of War style game. And it took me a while to get back into that mindset. And even when I got into it, there were still just moments of frustration because of the camera, different things. But in the end of the day, I actually really enjoyed my time with it. Even though the campaign is pretty short, there's a bunch of different things you can do with challenges and things like that to unlock. I didn't unlock very much stuff. You probably get more stuff for playing harder difficulty levels and all that jazz. But really, I just wanted to kind of play as a Jedi for a little bit before I got back into Metal Gear and sort of scratch that Star Wars itch, and this game did it. It picks up right where The Force Unleashed leaves off, with Starkiller being dead. Of course, this being the Star Wars universe, Vader just goes to Kamino and clones the bastard and brings him back. And that's kind of one of the caveats of the game, is the environments. You're on Kamino a lot. I would say a good half of the game takes place on Kamino. So, in one way, it kind of feels like LucasArts just knocked this out on a weekend just to get something out, but still a pretty good game. But he clones Starkiller and tries to use him again for his own nefarious purposes, and of course Starkiller rebels, and the story does a good job of showing you like what a person who knows he's a clone, what he would go through, and sort of the questions, and am I the same person, am I not the same person, all that kind of stuff. And I was actually pretty surprised by the storyline. It got pretty dark in places, and it's better acted than all three of the prequels combined. So it's weird how these Star Wars games, in a lot of ways, are better than the movies sometimes. Not the original trilogy. The original trilogy is pretty untouchable. With the prequels, you can punch holes through. And The Force Unleashed 2, I feel, has a better narrative, more interesting narrative than at least The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. But that's a debate for another day. But yeah, the storyline is really good. The only problem I really have with it is the usage of Vader as an antagonist, because this takes place before A New Hope. So you know Vader's going to win, or he's at least going to get away. And it kind of removes a lot of the dramatic tension when Vader's around, because you're like, well, who cares? Because he's still going to like make it out of here. It's not like Starkiller's going to destroy Vader or something like that. So maybe a different antagonist would have been cooler, like especially with a story that deals with clones. Maybe have the antagonist be a dark side Starkiller or a light side Starkiller if you're playing it as a dark side character. The game doesn't give you a lot of choice in that regard, but there are a few places where you can make a light side or dark side decision. So something like that maybe would have been a little bit cooler. From a narrative sense, maybe a little bit more interesting than just having Vader around for the sake of having Vader. But at the end of the day, the storyline, it keeps you playing. It's interesting. It sets up a third game, which I don't think we'll ever see since Disney bought out Lucasfilm. I don't even know if LucasArts is still around, to be honest with you. So I don't think we'll ever see a Force Unleashed 3, which is kind of I guess, kind of a sad thing because it would make a cool little trilogy, and but wasn't meant to be. The gameplay of this game, I actually had a lot of fun with starting out, and then I got frustrated as the game wore on because it's one of those games where, like, instead of being more challenging, like challenge, it just becomes more difficult. If that makes any sense. It's not that the enemies are any tougher or anything like that. The game just throws more of them at you, and in different combinations. So starting off, the game kind of eases you in by fighting stormtroopers, and then you fight these troopers that have control of the Force, and then you fight ones that have lightsabers, and that's all well and good. Occasionally, the game will throw a chicken walker at you, or another kind of mech or battle droid or something. And it's all well and good until you get to the part where the game starts throwing them all together, and you have to fight stormtroopers and lightsaber wielders and force wielders, and then you have these chicken walkers. Like, they're not AT-ATs, they're AT something. Oh, ATSTs, the scout troopers. You have those things walking around, firing missiles at you and stuff, and it just kind of becomes overwhelming, and it just feels like the game's not really giving you a chance to do anything because, you can find cover, but it's like the missiles go around the cover and still hit you, so you can't even let your health regenerate. So there's a few places in the game where the game does this, and it just becomes extremely frustrating. And that might just be because I'm not used to playing these style of games. But with these big mechs, if you get their HP down low enough, you can start like these quick time events to basically just wipe them out. I am not a fan of quick time events. I kind of rue the day that they were put in because they just feel stupid. And I know why they're there. They're there to make it a much more cinematic experience. But there's something kind of anticlimactic about it because the first time you do one of these quick time events, Starkiller kind of dispatches the enemies in this really cool fashion. The problem is every time you do these quick time events, depending on what enemy it is, they do it. He kills them in the same fashion. So you get sick of seeing the same animation over and over and over again. And a little variety would have been cool, I guess. But like I said, it feels like they just took the Force Unleashed engine and just knocked out a sequel pretty quick with this one. Maybe the Force Unleashed was as short as 2, but I felt like it was longer for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe I need to go back and replay the Force Unleashed 1 and just see how long that game actually is. Other than that, it's your kind of a typical third-person action game. There's platforming segments that can be a bit frustrating because the jumping mechanic in this game is a little wonky. You can level up every time you defeat an enemy. You get health points back, and you also get experience points. You can spend these points on various Jedi powers to level them up. No real grinding required. The game pretty much gives you enough to level, kind of all the good ones up anyway. It's that, typical fast-paced action game that I like, but at the same time I get kind of burned out on if I play too many of them. With the quick time events thrown in and things like that. It's just, I don't know. It's just kind of the norm nowadays, I guess, or at least it was the norm during that era. Now we're in a new generation, so it's kind of hard to say what the norm is now. But I don't know. Like every now and then, I like to play those style of games, these fast-paced action games. But if I play too many in a row, I just get really burned out on them because they all kind of feel the same. Especially, so if you've played God of War or something like that, you'd probably like the Force Unleashed games, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. The graphics are really good, but like everything, and I don't know what it is about texture pop in, and things like that in these modern games. I don't know why that happens so often, or clipping, or just these weird graphical glitches. But Force Unleashed 2 does have quite a few of them. It kind of felt like I was missing some cutscenes every now and then. The way it would transition from the gameplay to like a cutscene, very awkward transition. It made you feel like you were missing something. I don't know what that was all about, but graphically, I mean, the animation in the faces in the cutscenes are pretty amazing and pretty lifelike. So it is a good game to look at, but at the same time, these modern games with the texture pop-ins and things like that, it's just such a weird thing to see. I don't know, like if it's just like a reading speed or what, but it always kind of pops you out of the game, the experience for a few seconds. Audio wise, I thought the voice acting was great. It's weird to hear other people do Vader's voice because it never sounds quite right. You really need James Earl Jones to do that. I think the guy that did Yoda in this game, he had to be the same guy that does Yoda in like the Clone Wars cartoon and things like that, because it sounded exactly like that. But the voice acting was good, and the music is very Star Wars-esque. There's a lot of familiar themes in the game, of course, and then there's a lot of music that's made to sound like a John Williams score. John Williams is a weird composer for me, because I feel like his work back in the 80s with the original Star Wars and with Indiana Jones and things like that, with Schindler's List and a lot of other movies, were a lot more memorable than his like Harry Potter scores. Like the Harry Potter theme and stuff like that was really cool, but it's like the incidental music that just kind of plays in the background while things are going on, like in the prequels and in the Harry Potter movies. They're just not as memorable as the soundtracks. And I'm not even talking about like the asteroid field and like the big set piece orchestrations. I'm talking about just the incidental music in the original Star Wars movies. It sounds very chaotic and weird. Like listen to the Episode 2 soundtrack during the Geonosian fight. The music that plays during that, and it's like this weird mishmash of just instruments playing. There's no like theme. There's no overarching thing. And then when like a theme comes in, it's very weird and very jarring. So I don't know if it's just John Williams getting old or what, but that always bugged me. And in a way, the music in Force Unleashed 2, see, I'm bringing it back. I'm tying it all together. In the way the music in Force Unleashed 2 follows that, it just kind of feels incidental and not really there. It's film soundtracks are weird for me. Like I like a lot of motifs and things like that. And if it's just like, random gibberish, I feel like a lot of John Williams' later scores are, I just kind of tune out on it. So anyway, Force Unleashed 2. Do I recommend this game? If you played the first one, if you like Star Wars, yeah, give this a shot, because it's actually a really fun game. It's not going to take you very long. Be a nice palate cleanser between some RPGs. But don't pay. Which I think this would probably be like $5 at GameStop or something by now. But yeah, it's a good game to pick up and just kind of play. Maybe, well, not even rent. You can't even really rent things anymore. But it's not going to last you for very long. That's what I'm trying to say. Don't spend a good portion of money on this, because it's not going to last you very long. And if I paid $60 for this, I would have been pissed off. But I think I only paid like $4 for it or something. But anyway, it satisfied the Star Wars itch. I had a good time with it. It's got some weird issues that I have with most games during this era, the Xbox and PlayStation 3 era. But yeah, it was nice to finally boot up the Xbox again. Maybe after I play some Metal Gears, I'll look into playing something else. Actually, since that Mad Max game is out, and I just haven't got around to buying it yet, I think I'll play this sometime, because this is supposed to be like Mad Max. But anyway, that is really it for Star Wars The Force Unleashed 2. There's not really a lot to say. Fun game, good storyline. It's just not going to be like a top tier game for you. If it is a top tier game for you, then more power to you. But for me, not so much. But these two combined together do create a good experience, and I'm a little upset that there isn't a third one to kind of end the storyline of Starkiller. I think that'd be pretty cool, but at the same time, you know, who knows? It might have been terrible. It might have been like Ninja Gaiden 3, which I hear is terrible. But anyway, that is it for this video. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.